Welcome to Cess Talk Sports, where we dive deep into the intersection of sports, politics, history, racism, gender bias, and culture. I'm your host, Seth. Today, we're bringing you a truly remarkable story. Joining me is my co-host, Political Lil. Welcome to the show, Lil. We're shining the spotlight on the 6888th Central Postal Directory Battalion, also known as the 6888. These extraordinary women were trailblazers in World War II, and in ways that the world is only just beginning to appreciate.
That's right, Cess. The 6888 was an all-black, all-female battalion in the U.S. Army during World War II. Their mission? To clear a backlog of 17 million pieces of undelivered mail in Europe, a massive undertaking that was critical to maintaining troop morale on the front lines near the end of the war. These men at war had, in some cases, not heard from their loved ones in 2 years because of this mail backlog. And as a former soldier, I can attest to the fact that mail call was the best part of a soldier's day.
And they accomplished that mission under incredibly challenging conditions, facing not just the pressures of war, but also racism, sexism, and discrimination within the military itself. This story is one of service, resilience, and excellence, not just in their professional duties, but also in athletics.
Exactly. What's often overlooked is that these women also organize sports programs while in Europe, including basketball teams and baseball teams during their downtime. But even in sports, they face discrimination. For example, some of their all-star standout players were invited to participate in the U.S. Army All-Star basketball tournament until officials realized that the players were black and took the invitation back. Despite this, the 6888 made history by winning the European Army basketball tournament. Their story is as much about breaking barriers as it is about perseverance.
Fast forward to today, their story has been brought to life in a beautifully crafted film directed by Tyler Perry. The movie, now streaming on Netflix, dramatizes the lives and accomplishments of these remarkable women. It's a must watch for anyone who wants to truly understand their legacy.
And the movie captures not just their contributions to the war effort, but also the systemic challenges they faced as black women in the 1940s, a struggle that still resonates today in both professional fields and sports.
And that's our central theme for today's podcast. How the 6888's experiences in both military service and sports reflect broader issues of politics, racism, sexism, and gender discrimination, and how their legacy is relevant to Black women's experiences today. We'll also discuss why this story is so important in understanding how far we've come and how much further we have to go.
We'll be talking about their history, their triumphs, and of course, how Tyler Perry movie provides a new lens through which to view their incredible journey.
Before we dive deeper, here's our call to action. If you haven't already, make sure to check out the Tyler Perry film on Netflix. It's a powerful and moving tribute to the 6888 and is guaranteed to leave you inspired. So go watch it and then come back to join the live conversation. Welcome back to Cess Talk Sports. In this segment, we're going to set the stage for the incredible story of the 6888th Battalion by diving into the societal context of their time and the intersections of politics, gender, and race in World War II. Lil, let's kick things off with some historical background.
Says, to truly understand the 6888 story, we need to step back into World War II era in America, a time defined by intense segregation, systemic racism, and deeply entrenched sexism. Black women had limited roles in almost every aspect of society, and the military was no exception. When the U.S. entered the war, black women wanted to serve their country, and they faced significant barriers, discrimination during enlistment, segregated units, and a limited opportunity for advancement.
And yet, despite these challenges, the 6888th Central Postal Directory Battalion was formed. It was the first and only all-black, all-female battalion in U.S. military history. Their mission? To tackle a seemingly impossible task, a clearing of a backlog of 17 million pieces of undelivered mail that had accumulated in Europe. But Lil, just forming this battalion wasn't easy, was it?
It was not at all. The 6888 creation was a hard-fought victory for black women. They faced skepticism about their abilities, outright racism, and a military structure that was resistant to integrating black women into meaningful roles. But they persevered, and their work became critical to the war effort, ensuring soldiers could receive letters from home, boosting morale, and connecting families across continents.
And while their military mission was groundbreaking, what many people don't know is that these women also created something equally impactful in their downtime organized sports programs.
That's right. The 6888 understood the power of sports to build morale, foster camaraderie, and provide a sense of normalcy during the war. Their championship basketball team, in particular, was a source of pride. In fact, they were so good that several members were invited to participate in the U.S. Army All-Star Basketball Tournament.
But there's a heartbreaking twist to that story. When the tournament organizers realized the players were black, the invitation was revoked. It was a stark reminder of the racism that pervaded every aspect of life, even within the military.
Exactly. But in true 6888 fashion, they didn't let that stop them. These women continued to excel. And then they made history by winning the European Army basketball tournament. Their victory was not just a triumph in sports, but it was a powerful statement about resilience and excellence in the face of discrimination.
And that's one of the reasons Tyler Perry's Netflix movie is so important. It captures the six AAA's contributions to the war effort, but also challenges the challenges they faced as women, as Black Americans. The YouTube documentary by Black Excellence Excel List captures information about these soldiers as athletes. Lil, what are some of the key themes from the movie that stood out to you?
The film beautifully portrays their determination and camaraderie. Without giving too much away, some scenes show the challenges of working in freezing warehouses to sort mail, as well as lighter moments, like the determination to excel that brought these women together in the first place. It also highlights how their work and subsequently their athletic achievements were overlooked because of their race and gender.
And it's not just a historical drama. The movie connects these themes to broader issues we're still grappling with today, like systemic racism, gender discrimination, and the power of collective resilience.
Exactly. It sets the stage perfectly for our discussion about why 6 AAA story is still relevant today and how their experiences resonate with Black women in professional fields and sports in modern times.
So, listeners, if you haven't watched the film yet, make sure to add it to your list. Tyler Perry's dramatization brings the 6 AAA story to life in a way that's both inspiring and thought provoking. Up next, we'll dive into how the 6 AAA's legacy connects to the challenges Black women face in today's world of sports and professional life. Now that we set the stage with the historical context of the 6888th Battalion, let's zoom in on a lesser known but incredibly inspiring chapter of their story, their triumph in sports. Lil, this is where their resilience really shines.
Absolutely, says. Sports played a major role in the 6 AAA story, even though it wasn't depicted in Tyler Perry's movie. But thanks to the YouTube documentary, the 6 AAA, when the first Black women soldiers served in World War II by Black Excellence Excel List, we get a glimpse of their athletic journey and the discrimination they face.
Let's start with the exclusion of several members from the U.S. Army All-Star Basketball Tournament. Several of the 6 AAA outstanding athletes were invited to participate because of their talent. But when tournament organizers discovered the players were black, the invitation was rescinded. Lil, can you imagine the frustration and heartbreak they must have felt?
It's unimaginable. These women were already breaking barriers as the first Black female soldiers to serve overseas. And to then face this kind of blatant racism in something as unifying as sports is disheartening. But they didn't let it stop them. They formed their own basketball team and went on to compete in the European Army basketball tournament in 1945.
And not only did they compete, they won. The 6888 became champions of the European Theater Operations Basketball Championship 1945, proving their talent, determination, and resilience.
Yep, and their victory wasn't just about basketball. It was a statement in a segregated military structure where Black women were often undervalued. Their triumph showed that talent and perseverance could rise above systemic barriers. Sports became a powerful tool for empowerment and representation.
This brings us to the parallels with today. Black women athletes like Serena Williams, Asia Wilson, and Angel Reese continue to face systemic challenges in sports. Serena has dealt with accusations of being too aggressive. Asia is fighting for visibility and equity in the WNBA, and Angel Reese has been criticized for the same competitive spirit that's celebrated in others.
Exactly. But like the 6 AAA, these women are redefining the narrative. Sports is still a platform for breaking stereotypes and challenging societal norms, whether it's through NIL deals, advocacy, or just sheer excellence on the court. Black women are continuing to fight.
And while Tyler Perry's Netflix movie doesn't depict the sports story, it captures the spirit of resilience that defined the 6888. Their athletic achievements are a subplot in a broader narrative of their service and struggles, but they're a critical reminder of how they push boundaries in every arena they entered.
So listen, if you're watching the film, pay close attention to how camaraderie, teamwork, and resilience are woven into the story, even if sports aren't the central focus. And if you're curious about their sports legacy, check out the documentary we mentioned earlier. The 6888 journey through discrimination and triumph is truly inspiring.
Exactly, Lil. Sports weren't just a pastime for the 6888. They were a battleground where they challenged discrimination and showcased their excellence. Up next, we'll discuss how their story resonates with black women in professional spaces beyond sports. Don't go anywhere. In this segment today, we'll explore how the 6888 story isn't just a piece of history. It's a lens through which we can understand the challenges black women still face in sports and professional spaces today. Lil, this is where we really see how the past connects to the present.
Exactly. Let's start with the military. The 6888 not only faced an immense task of clearing 17 million pieces of backlog mail, they did so while navigating a segregated military and undervalued their contribution. Their resilience is a direct parallel to what black women face today in today's workspaces, especially in leadership roles.
Think about it. Whether it's in corporate boardrooms, coaching positions, or executive roles in sports, black women have often encountered the same barriers, being overlooked, underestimated, and having to work twice as hard for recognition.
And it's not just about the obstacle, it's about how they rise above them. The 6888 use of sports as a morale booster during their service reminds me of how athletes today use their platform for advocacy. Take Angel Reese and Aja Wilson, for example. They're not just athletes, their voices of, are for equity, justice, and representation.
Athletics has always been more than a game for black women. It's been a way to challenge stereotypes and fight for visibility. The 6888 embodied that spirit by dominating on the court, even when they were excluded from opportunities like the All Army All Star basketball tournament.
Tyler Perry Netflix movie brings this broader story of systemic barriers to life. And while it doesn't touch on that sports story, it does a fantastic job of showcasing their camaraderie, perseverance, and the biases they overcame. It's a powerful reminder of their strength, not just as soldiers, but as women breaking boundaries.
It's those themes of resilience and unity that resonate so strongly. Watching the film, you can't help but to think about the parallels with today. Angel Reese facing backlash for her competitive spirit, Asia Wilson advocating for better conditions in the WNBA. These stories echo the same struggles the 6888 faced decades ago.
Absolutely. And it's just like the 6888 use sports as a way to uplift each other. Today's athletes are using their platforms to demand systemic change, whether it's through sponsorship deals, partnerships, or speaking out against injustice. They're continuing the fight.
So, what's the takeaway, Lil? What do we want our listeners to walk away with?
The 6888 story is a testament to the power of resilience and unity. Whether in the military, the workplace, or on the court, Black women have always faced immense challenges and they've always risen above them. Their legacy reminds us that the fight for equity is ongoing and every win, no matter how small, matters.
Well said. And listeners, if you haven't watched Tyler Perry's movie on Netflix yet, do yourself a favor and check it out. It's not just a film, it's a story that connects the past to the present and inspires us all to keep pushing forward.
Absolutely. And don't forget to look up the YouTube documentary, The 6888, when the first Black women served in World War II, for the full story, including their incredible sports legacy. These women deserve to be remembered, not just for their service, but for breaking barriers in every aspect of their lives.
And for our final segment, we're diving deep into the legacy of the 6888 and what their story teaches us today. Lil, let's reflect on the incredible courage and accomplishments of these women.
The 6888 didn't just complete their mission against all odds, they paved the way for future generations of Black women in both military and sports. Their resilience set a precedent, showing what's possible when determination and talent meets opportunity, even in the face of systemic barriers.
And yet their story has been so underrepresented in history books, in military narratives, and even in sports discussions. It's a reminder of how much work still needs to be done to honor and recognize their contributions.
Absolutely. This story is a call to action, not just to remember, but to actively ensure that the legacies of these trailblazers like the 6888 are preserved and celebrated. It's up to us to make sure their impact isn't forgotten.
So, listeners, we want to hear from you. How do stories like the 6888th inspire you to challenge systemic barriers? Drop your thoughts in the live chat or on social media with a hashtag CessTalk6888. Lil, this story feels so relevant in today's context, doesn't it?
It really does, Seth. Tyler Perry Film has done such an important job in amplifying their story, making it accessible to a wider audience. And while the movie focuses more on the service than their sports story, it still shines a light on resilience, camaraderie, and the fight against discrimination.
And that cultural impact is so crucial, especially for younger generations who might not have learned about these women otherwise. Films like these are more than entertainment. They're education, they're inspiration, and they're a call to action.
Exactly. And for those of you who've already watched the film, we want to hear from you. What moments stood out to you? How did they resonate with today's issues of racism, sexism, and systemic barriers? Share your thoughts with us in the comments or on social media. We'll be discussing your responses in a future live episode.
This has been such a powerful conversation, Lil. The 6888 story reminds us that the fight for recognition and equity is ongoing, but their legacy shows us the strength and resilience that Black women have always brought to the table.
Absolutely. They set the stage for the progress we see today, and they challenge us to keep pushing for more. Their legacy isn't just history, it's a blueprint for the future.
Thank you, listeners, for joining us on this journey today. If you haven't already, go watch Tyler Perry's film on Netflix and look up the documentary, The 6888, when the first Black women soldiers served in World War II. These stories deserve to be shared, celebrated, and remembered.
And keep this conversation going. Share your thoughts, your takeaways, and your own stories of resilience using the hashtag SessTalk68888. Let's honor these women by continuing the fight for equity and recognition in every.
That wraps up today's episode of Cess Talk Sports in the BeWise PoliSports podcast. We hope this conversation about the remarkable legacy of the 6888 has inspired you as much as it has inspired us. This story is not just about history, it's about resilience, courage, and breaking barriers. Lessons we could carry into our lives today.
And we encourage you to keep learning about these incredible women. Check out the documentary like the 6888, when the first women Black soldiers served in World War II by Black Excellence Excel List. Dive into books, historical records, and articles to uncover even more about the contributions to our history.
Let's also remember to support modern Black women athletes and soldiers, amplify their stories, advocate for equity, and celebrate their achievements. Together, we can continue breaking down systemic barriers.
Yep, and if you haven't already, make sure you watch Tyler Perry film on Netflix. It's an essential companion to understanding the 6888 story and the resilience they embody. It's a must watch for anyone passionate about our history, justice, and progress.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What stood out to you about the 6888 story? What lesson do you think we can apply today? Drop your thoughts on social media using hashtag SessTalk6888 or in the comments section.
And don't forget to join us for the next episode where we'll dive into another fascinating topic. We'll be discussing the untold story of Black women's in Olympic basketball history, disruptor Teresa Edwards. You won't want to miss it.
And remember, sports are never just about the game. It's about the stories we tell and the change we create. Until next time, stay curious, stay resilient, and support our athletes as they keep breaking those barriers. This is Cess Talk Sports in the BeWise PoliSports podcast signing off. See you next time.